we are live सम्झिँदै.
Okay, thank you Kanta. So ठाउँ चाहिँ हालि नेवाद बुया निया नि थया प्रसारण WDB वर्ल्ड नेम अर्गनाइजेसन डेली ब्रोडकास्ट हुने बुधबार पत्रिका जीसँग चाहिँ कला खेले यको योगदान बियादी पि चोकी पामी पि कलाकार पि निसे चाहिँ थना चाहिँ खला बला यान चुनाउ ल जी संयुक्त श्रेष्ठ सिपिनी होस्ट थो ज्याजन याकमी ठाउँ जीसँग छिपिन्छ थना खन्दको जुई तसक चाहिँ नाजामा छमा चाहिँ अग्रज यदामा जीसँग चाहिँ बच्चा चाहिँ सिनियर जी चाहिँ आर्टिस्ट चोकी पामी वो अश्मिना रञ्जित जो या त थाना चाहिँ जी लस्को सियान छु ना Ashmina madam, you are heartily I welcome you wholeheartedly here to our event. Laskus Dulcita.
Thank you. Jojalapa. Namaste. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. It's my pleasure to be with you all here. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity and the space given to me. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. We are really, we're kind of blessed to have you here. It is not us giving you space, but you, kind of giving us so much respect, accepting this space and agreeing to speak to us today. Thank you very much. And so everyone almost knows about you, and it's going to be so easy for me to talk to you and even introduce you, which will need very less words. Ashmina Ranjit is a very, very, very well-known name, especially amongst the very limited number of, female artists in our Nepalese art scene, and a very successful one among them. And also, we've heard like you being labeled as an artivist, which is an artist and activist together. How do you take this this label? How do you take this introduction? Artivist, do you agree with this to start with?
Of course. Actually, I call myself artivist.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my art has always been in the activist mode. At the beginning, I didn't recognize it, or I was not aware of it. But once I became aware of it, then I started calling myself artivist.
So were you an artist or an activist before you became or you realized that you are an artivist?
That's a very hard question, actually. Of course, we all human beings, we express sometimes with whatever known as the art, or sometimes it is beyond that word itself. So we are expressive. Any human being is expressive. So that is one thing. But I guess I became, in that sense, I believe every human being has that creative, expressive mode. And activist is somehow, I think it's the questioning nature of ourselves. So when we consciously question the status quo, whatever is there, or just take it for granted and just go with the flow, So I think I became like that questioning. I had that questioning mind from the very beginning. So it's very hard to actually, say which one is the first one.
So it seems like it's a good place to be in, to be settled as an artivist, where you're doing art as well as you have your own activism alongside. Brilliant. This is really good to know. And I was just about to ask you, like, when does a layman, a normal human being changes into an activist? But you just answered it already, which is great. I now understand it better. But when we bring an activism into an art practice, how
Mhm.
does it affect it? Does it make any better, or what kind of influence does it bring to your art when you mix it with activism?
Well, uh, um, it's kind of like, art, any art is political, you know, whether, I mean, once you stand with your voice, no matter it's a, I mean, drawing one line or whatever, you are expressing yourself, and that is a political already. And and how the state or the ruler use art as a medium to really kind of glorify themselves and use to bring their themselves, actually to establish themselves, how they use artist as a tool, art as a tool, using art, you know. So, and the state kind of really use in certain way, and most of the time we fall into that, and we try to really take that concept, whatever state or the rulers or the elite or the patriarchy or the brahminical patriarchy, Hinduism, however you kind of describe how they want to establish their concept
Mhm,
or establish themselves, and they use art.
mhm,
And then artivist, it's like flowing in the river, and artivist is actually, they kind of start questioning on the status quo, whatever is there already established. Is it good, or I mean, how it is affecting to ordinary people, and how things are going on. So it's really that is actually really questioning the status quo and making people think
mhm,
what is I would not say right or wrong, but at the same time, just to make people think beyond the frame, beyond the established notion of whatever the concept is there. So in
mhm,
that sense, it's the activism is, I mean, activism that goes on, but as an artist, I use that, and also other artists use that as a mode of questioning,
mhm.
I guess.
I've always been thinking about this, madam, because we're talking about art and activism in one frame. But
Yeah.
then, like, if we look into our remote past and distant past, even none of my parents, at least my grandparents, were literate, and they won't be able to read the inscriptions and whatever is written on the temples and all that, all the Sanskrit and very heavy Sanskrit scriptures, because we all used to speak Nepal Bhasa, very ancient, classical Nepal Bhasa, maybe in Kathmandu, in the valley. But
Yeah.
then it was art which made us Buddhist or which made us Hindu, because all we knew was the paintings and sculptures. Looking at them, we knew, like, we were okay. This is our religion. We were not able to read high flown Sanskrit. And then again later on, like for example, King Mahendra, he made all those cows and rhododendron everywhere in the big entrance gates, and made us think like, okay, we are all Nepali, and Khas Bhasa Nepali is our language. And, we started forgetting about everything else. So art is being used to impose religion, nationality by not only artists, but even rulers and even priests and everyone in the past, right, in the history. And we've been subject to that. But when the artists use the similar mode of activism through their art, how reliable, and like, do they always tell us like do this or do that, or do they just keep it open, or how does it work? Like, how do you do it personally?
Well, um, how you stated, King Mahendra, And before then, for centuries, like Hindu Brahminical concept, how it established and how it kind of ruled, you know. So that's how they used different kind of text, different kind of art form, different kind of rituals. Basically they created the rules and law, let's say. And then somehow we fall into that. And also there are only certain caste and certain people were supposed to read and write. All of the other were not supposed to read and write, and they just, the way they created the hierarchy, the caste system, and the also class system within that is something we need to really question about. And like char varna, chhattis jat, and all these things. And also, like within that, how the one caste or the one class, how they kind of rule over everyone. And if we look at within the Newa nation,
Yeah. Yeah.
itself, like within that, also how the caste system exists and how this caste system created is, we need to question that, and we
Definitely.
need to really,
Mm. Mm.
somehow dismantle that
So
system.
art.
Also, yeah,
So the
also
contemporary art could be a means to do that. Is that what you're trying
I
to say?
bet, it can be one of the strongest mean to do that. So I mean, I just wanted to bring my experience itself. Like you were talking about the language. Until I was 6 years old, I used to speak only Nepali. Sorry, Newa language. And then I was admitted to school, and then after that I lost my language, my mother tongue.
Mhm.
Slowly the whole environment and everything. And as I was talking, I mean, if I talk in even in Nepali, people used to tease me, like saying ta ta, something whatever with the accent. And so I totally stopped talking about this, and with time I kind of lost the confident, and slowly I stopped speaking. So it's kind of, if we look at, it's one child losing her tongue, or the mother tongue is is nothing. But at the same time, it was created structurally, how one's language, when one's language is taken away, it's your home, your comfort, your everything is taken away, and it's by the state, you know and when state versus a group of people, state versus thing, I mean, it's just extremely
Out of balance, right? Yeah.
out of balance, and it's very hard. So I had to find the language, and I used to be a front bencher, like you.
Right.
But once you lost the language, then you became the last bencher. Then you look at the other and just say, jibro dekhao, hat dekhao, yeah, like that, as a kid. So you didn't understand. I mean, I didn't understand what was going on. I started copying, but it was really painful, experience. I mean, I even can't express how I used to feel. So with that, they created the art, they created the languages, according to how one group of people or the many groups of people can be suppressed against the other, no. So in that sense, it's like structurally created the violence against the people, And then if you look at, I every now and then I think about our artist Amar Chitrakar.
Mm.
Amar Chitrakar is the great, great, great artist. Everybody, we look up on him. And he created what he created. Then he was, sponsored by state, and the Ranas, and the Sahas, and what he created is like big statues of Maharajas and beautiful portraits of like Ranas, like their glorious being, and how they wanted to establish how glorious, how brave, and how um, great they are. And he created those. And every now and then I think, if state kind of, he didn't have to follow those people who were in a power, or state would not have sponsored him, what he would have created at that period.
Right.
you know that's the question it comes to my mind. And also when I look at Michelangelo, definitely he has created the marvelous, the wonderful thing what we look up with, glory and all these things. But at the same time, Michelangelo was also state sponsored, pope sponsored, and what he created is like, what
Yeah.
they wanted to establish. Whereas whole of if again Michelangelo was not really sponsored by those people, and if he's independently created something, would his art be the same?
Yeah.
Definitely not, in
Absolutely.
that sense. So like how someone can independently question the status quo, the established notion of things, then it's going against the flow, and it's very hard, it's not easy. And coming back to myself, like when I started art school here, I clearly remember my teachers and also senior artists always, told me not to create artwork on
Mhm.
women, because there is no gender in women. And when they were talking about that, I think they were thinking about object, art, and as an object doesn't have gender. That's
Mhm.
how they were thinking. And also they always told me not to talk about the politics, because we artists is supposed to be aloof,
Mhm.
and in the tranquil kind of feeling, really thinking about beautiful mountain and
Right.
like beautiful scenario
Very
landscape. And
true.
Nepal is very peaceful zone, Nepal as a peaceful zone, which is bullshit. If you kind of like put someone's hand on your mouth and
Mhm.
say this is peaceful, oh, she's not talking, no, you are suppressing.
Yeah.
So that's how the things happened.
Mm.
And
That's
also the art then was really kind of pushed
Mhm.
to have this concept of Nepal is peaceful zone. So
Mhm.
they don't accept the political art. And
True. True.
also Lalit Kala and whoever there kind of not accepting beyond that.
Mm.
So
True.
they were supporting the state, let's say that.
That's it. We can definitely clearly put it like the way you did. And I totally agree with you, madam. It may just make some people unhappy, but
You
so
should
be
not say me, I mean, call me madam, I feel
it.
awkward.
No, I'll tell you why now. Why this is coming out of me. The utmost respect that I can't stop. Kind of bringing out of me. But yeah, before that, you're so true, and that's definitely why we love you so much for being the voice of the voiceless, being the voice for the underprivileged, marginalized, all these communities. gender, whatever you say. And in that activism that you survived as an artist, and we're not sponsored by any state, not sponsored by any power, any agenda, and that is exactly why we all love you and admire your art and activism. So, yeah. After that heavy talk, we will just move on to something more tangible and quantifiable. I don't know. So yeah, so I've been addressing you as madam, but I'll tell you now exactly why. So this is how I saw you last time, when I was like in my early 20s, right? And I was in this exhibition on the first day, on the last day, because I just live behind this building, NAFA building,
Oh, okay.
and that's where I was raised, and I grew up. So I come in that gallery every day. This is my playground basically, and I used to come and see you. And I see you like this. You used to read a novel all day, almost, in the sun, next to the window in Nafa. This your gallery space. And I used to observe you, like reading, and like very quiet and not talking much with people who are visiting. And I used to be so scared, like, oh my God, artists are like this. That was my impression of an artist when I was very young. But yeah, now I think I have an opportunity to understand you better today, after so long, after almost 22 years, 23 years. And this is exactly how I remember you. And your activism hasn't changed. Your art has probably kind of gone leap bound across borders by now. So could you please let's discuss about this main exhibition, which had such a big impact, I believe. And your art has always been, always to do with, feminism and, making that voice stronger. I'll take you through some of these pictures just to remind everyone, or maybe introduce.
Mhm, mhm. So this was in 2000, um, and um, to talk about this, I think I have to talk a little bit earlier work as well.
Sure, sure, sure.
So women basically living in a patriarchal Hindu patriarchal system, society, where women's as soon as a woman is born, or a girl is born, they were kind of already dismissed in so many ways, as a citizen, as a I mean, uh, they believe in angsha ra bangsa is for angsha bangsa चाहिँ छोराले क्यारी गर्छ, अंश
Mhm,
पनि छोरीलाई जान्छ, एन्ड सरी छोरालाई जान्छ, अनि and chori is an object that is supposed to be given away, donate, dan, kanya dan, that the word itself. And also when the chori is born, or the daughter is born, they were not celebrated, rather they are depressed.
mhm,
That is the society we lived in. And then just because you are born with vagina, and then everything is kind of, she is not even um, accepted as, sometimes I feel like not even as a human being, as I described, as an object. And with that, the women's sexuality is controlled. Everything, her being is controlled on the name of dharma, on the name of sanskriti, on the name of society, somehow in every sense. And when they grow up, their body is supposedly to serve men, and for men, whatever men does, until you are a daughter, you just carry, or you became a carrier of your father's um, izzat,
mhm,
honor. And then once you became wife of someone, then you became like a server, is someone who serves. whenever he wants whatever, your body has to be just ready. And when the son is there, then you just like, Adarsa Ama ko role, and then she has no identity at all, so it's always subordinate kind of a object in that sense. And so I started working on women before this, like different series of work, and one of them is sexuality. And when you started really talking about sexuality, it's in the society like ours, it's not acceptable. And it's not only in Nepal or South Asia, but sometimes even in the Western context, and so I created many bodies of work, and about the sexuality, and within that how it is controlled, your body is controlled. Even you can't touch your own body, chichi, some part of your body is like inlagne thing, disgusting thing, so you don't talk about, and you don't know your body, and then whatever happens within our body, and the kind of child marriage happens, because before you know your body or kind of thing, the purity, all these things, how they kind of manifested within it, so it's kind of really cruel in that sense. It's the violence happening into the body what we carry as a being woman. So with that, like, and again also how culture, within the name of culture, how women became invisible, their being is just slotted in certain way, and how they have to carry the cultural identity, someone's chori, someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's kaki, baini, blah blah blah, it's kind of like that. So in that sense, with this here warp, it's really kind of stating the mind or the concept of women's situation in so many ways, in on the form of hair, and also here as a symbol, how women's identity is somehow linked with and somehow imposed on the women's body. I'll give you 2 3 examples. I remember one incident when I was growing up. I can't remember where, when, I mean, how old I was. One of the male member of the family, it must be some relative, actually chopped the hair of younger women because she was having affair with someone, and she came home, and then this male was extremely angry, and she kind of chopped her hair in really disgusting way, and she was wailing. I still remember that wailing, that crying. So it's the punishment how she was treated. And the another thing, like, when, and also in our society, especially Hindu patriarchal society, I would say, when how they hear, like they kind of symbolize things within it. One of the thing, if the Kali, goddess Kali, has, like, flying hair, like really long hair, is considered, wow, Kali ko kapal, she's the bold woman and like goddess, like however glorify. And when a woman, if they kind of leave their hair flowing like that, then people said kosto bokshi jasto, then they became witch. So the contradiction, the ambiguity, or like the I mean, it's kind the contrast, the way they treated the women in the mythology, and the other way, how they kind of treated as goddess and glorified, and when it comes to the everyday life, how women are treated. So it's all these stories, all
Yeah.
those mythologies, all those lived experience I was bringing through that exhibitions. And I mean, I guess you can read the poem as well, what I wrote. I mean, God knows.
Yeah. I'm gonna actually. I was just about to ask you, like, can I do the honors? Like, can I just read this for you because I really want to do that. Okay, so this is what, and I can't imagine this is like we're talking about 2000, like 22 years ago, and this is what happened in the heart of Kathmandu. A young artist exhibiting and saying these verses. So it just says, "Kapal." हो यो कपाल मग्न मस्त कपाल खुल्ला उन्मुक्त कपाल लहर लहर छाल जस्तो जो अहिल्यै उर्लिन तयार मडारिएको कपाल जस्तो जो अहिल्यै बर्सिन तयार हो यो कपाल तर होइन यो कपाल यो लय हो जीवनको गीत हो आत्माको यन्त्र हो बन्धनको मन्त्र हो उडानको अनि सन्तुलन हो जन्म मरण बीचको हो यो कपाल तर होइन यो कपाल यो एउटा अनौठो अनुराग हो तिम्रो मेरो, मेरो, timro, hamro. And then there's a signature, Ashmina. Great. How did you manage to do this in, like, we're talking about 2000, and how did you manage to do this as a young artist there in Nafa, and what was the reaction? Do you have some memories of this?
Uh, with this one, I mean, relatively very positive. I mean, people took it much appreciating way, I guess. But some of the work prior to this exhibits, it was not acceptable for the Nepali society then. I don't know if you have some of the images or not. When I was working on women and sexuality in Kathmandu, like so far, in my mind, I have, I mean, women, especially in art and most of the other field, we talked about sexuality in public, to bring discourses like this. And when I did exhibition on sexuality, like 2 years prior to this, I think, like, people have really a big problem, all over in the newspaper, everywhere, like, oh, you are unmarried, how could you do, uh, I mean, I was talking about sexuality not as sex as an act, but about being in a body. So people, I think, didn't understand the concept of sexuality, and they kind of just looking at the sex as a, and also people were kind of saying, you have been into Australia, so you must have been just having sex or whatever, that's why you are doing, it's not appropriate for us, you should go back and never come back, kind of thing. But at the same time, some of the people were really accepting, and they were really praising for what was there, what was done, and it is really necessary to know about, and also how important these issues to bring forth,
Mhm.
so it's kind of like that, they kind of like labeling me as a fallen woman,
Mm,
was
mm.
there.
So,
And
so basically, as soon as if a woman in Nepali society, if they start talking about sexuality, it just degrades their character.
exactly. And people sometimes behave like you are available for them,
Right.
and it's like really disgusting. But at the same time, I knew I was not, I was right. What I was doing, I knew, and so I stood firmly. Whatever people say, I had to have thick skin,
Right.
otherwise it's very hard to survive. So
Mm,
I kept fighting, and I knew this is very important thing to bring, issue to bring forth and talked about. And if you look at, then nobody had talked about sexuality at that time. And if you look at the younger generation, how people started, I feel proud, to
Yeah,
see.
this is exactly where I was trying to take this conversation to, because now, after like almost 2.5 decades of your kind of making the voice so loud as a woman in that time, in the valley of that time, in the country that time, and compared to now, when like, the voice for feminism is getting louder and louder, which is all for good. I totally agree. Now, how do you compare this? Like, don't you feel like you come to a different planet, or how does it feel now?
uh we still have to go long way.
Sure, surely,
Yeah.
surely.
Still, some of the younger, I'm constantly in conversation with the younger artists, and I'm kind of mixing up with them, talking with them, and also, and the thing, what I kind of faced 20, 30 years before, yes, it's still there. It hasn't. The Hindu concept of controlling sexuality, and the patriarchal concept of controlling the sexuality of women, is still strongly rooted. And
Definitely.
how it is, yeah, it's very hard to say. Still, people, but for the younger artists, walking on those road which is already paved,
Mm,
maybe much easier
mhm, mhm.
than what I went through, but they are still struggling. I mean,
Yeah,
we are still
yeah.
struggling. We have to
I,
long way to go.
yeah, I
Uh,
totally agree. Like, people might find it a bit easier now, slightly, just because Ashmina Ranjit has already kind of faced the things and shown like how to be that punch bag and really face all that. But then the battle is still on, and there's a long way to go. I totally agree to that.
still,
Um, Yeah, and also you are also one of the forerunners among Nepali artists in Nepal to kind of try out these performances and a different kind of art maybe by that time. How did it work for you? Like, when was the first time you did a performance? And
well, um, for me, when I was growing up, when I was in art school, or when I also came back from Australia after studying, still painting and the sculptures are the art, nothing else is art,
mm,
in that
mm,
sense. And also for me, painting or sculpture became really limited to express what I wanted to express. So I kept experimenting. And also, I believe, as a creative person or the artist, you don't want to stuck in something, whatever. And so I kept experimenting. Once I feel like this particular medium is not enough to express what I wanted to express. For example, since you have seen the hair warp exhibition, you have seen this installation there, you have seen the video. I bet you remember that video, and the other different mediums what I used that time, and so I kept doing it. So in that sense, kept redefining the notion of art, what art is, in that sense. So I challenge myself. I don't believe in challenging other, but I challenge myself, so on that path, when the two-dimensional or three-dimensional or the fourth dimensional with the videos and other aspect, sound, whatever I used in different kind of um, expression, when it was not enough, I was missing the living part of it, the experience, these living experience at that time, at that space, at that moment became so important. So I started using my body, even not knowing what performance is in that sense, so I started like, it became so, I think I used, uh, prior to that, but I was not calling it performance, but consciously I started using, again not knowing it as a performance, but I needed it. So during the Maoist or the People's War, insurgency, whatever you call, 2002, we did a huge art event. It's a kind of, with collaborating with writers, um, musicians, theater artists, all of these people. And that time, one of our friends, Subina Shrestha, she also did one of the performance, and I did like several pieces of performance. Then that was the first time to raise, about the peace, for peace and democracy against the ongoing state violence. So that was the first time. And then it became one of the thing which is so effective, so lively, and also your concept, how you kind of bring it through your body. So when you are performing, you have to became being in that body and space and concept, and how you actually express through it, so that's how I started. And this particular piece, actually, in 2017, like Kathmandu Triennale that happened in 2017, and it's this performance was done on the opening day at Hyatt premises. So this particular work is about the sacredness, and again, this is part of several things. The one you were asking, like, समय बजी बनाएको हो भनेर अघि
Yeah, yeah.
asking. So
This is.
that was, yeah, that was also part of it. I did like several performances during that time, and also another one of the work, which I might be talking later. So it's about, like, because we became a secular country after the constitution, but what they say, under the Sanatan Dharma को
Right.
मान्य मूल्यता, whatever, I don't remember the whole sentence, but Sanatan Dharma ko under secular, that means still it's the Sanatan Hindu Dharma dominant, no?
Yeah.
And also we became the from absolute monarchy to republican country, but the state behaves exactly like a Hindu country,
Yeah.
Hindu state, Hindu country, and president behaves exactly like the
As
Hindu
a king.
king,
Yeah.
going and doing all these, pujas,
Yeah.
azas, and all these things, and yeah, it's kind of like really questionable in that sense. And they haven't given, state hasn't given all, or accepted all religion, all people, all ethnic groups. They haven't accepted as one, as a people, or the citizen. Rather, they behaved in that manner. So it is the this performance is kind of really creating a counter narrative in that sense.
Sure.
or questioning that state of things, like
Yeah.
wherever you are, uh, in whichever dharma or whichever religion, faith, whatever, sacredness is within you where you are. And I was taking the Kailas as a metaphor,
Right.
and for this before this performance, actually I made um, uh, um, my effigy, like the Sano Putali, representing, it's like a me. And I sent that to Kailas Yatra,
Right.
with my friends. And then when they did the that effigy did the Kailas Yatra and came back, excuse me.
Mhm.
So someone is,
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. We can hear you, and that's
yeah,
good enough.
sorry. Uh, this sound is disturbing. Just a moment.
That's fine. I think someone is playing her own interview in the next room, so she's getting that kind of disturbance, but we'll figure it out. Where's Ole? Maybe
Sorry, someone was
it's all
I think
totally fine.
watching the same thing from other rooms, so I was just hearing the echoes. So sorry about that.
Even people in your house can do want to listen to you, so it's good.
Sorry about that. So I sent the effigy, and it did the Kailas Yatra and brought it back. And while that Kailas Yatra is being done, I was doing different activities,
Right.
and I was questioning, like, some of the people might be, my effigy was there at the space, and somehow I was trying to connect it from here. And during that yatra, I was constantly in conversation with the person, a friend who took that with her. And then so I was really saying, like, I'm here, but still I can connect there,
Right. Right.
and the effigy is there, being that body is there, it's not connecting with the Kailas, so where you are at this moment is the sacredness. And also I created like sound piece and installed. I asked with many people what does sacred means to them and how does it mean. And so this performance exactly is about the I was counting the how many step we make during
Mhm.
that Kailas Yatra, and creating that into the 4 different places. So
Mhm.
that's how. And also on that ice ball, I was writing on it, can you go back to that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
So I created like many ice balls, and then I was writing on it. And once I write on it, it kind of melts and goes away. It's kind of impermanence, and where you are, that matters. So it's really creating the counter narrative, how our state is
Mhm.
behaving in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally appreciate all the kind of performances that you start. You were one of the first to, of those artists who actually started this. And I've always kind of felt this, like, because in our society, when a male sits next, in public, they can sit in any way they like. They just spread their body and everywhere, all different directions. But when in the same place, a female will sit next to you, they will be like, doing a very, she's aware of the whole world around her and sits in a very, like, more decent way. I don't know, very controlled. But when a female, like, lady artist does a performance, and I find it kind of, they challenge the notion, and they show the society, like, I just want to express what I want to express as an artist, and they just don't really care about the notions of gender and all that in society. And that really, I really, really appreciate that. The act itself says a lot of things and is very loud. Plus, the message you try and convey is always the bonus. I am actually committed to make today's interview finish on time for the first time, and I've taken like double the time that I'm allowed all these interviews. So I will take your permission to actually get the questions from the audience hereafter. And we have very less time. We probably have only 10 minutes, so we'll make it very, very short. Great. So the first person who raises the hand gets the chance to speak to Ashmina Ranjit, madam. Question should be 1 or 2 lines, only questions, no explanations, no writing novel here, just question. Yeah, Sushil Tamrakarji is the first one to raise hand. I think he's from the US. Please turn your camera on and please have your say. Yeah, only questions.
No, I don't have question.
God.
I don't have question, but I am just saying, expressing my dissatisfaction with the interview, today's interview, how you conducted.
Sorry, apologies.
Sure. International student, always international. I was always international student, being educated in India, Netherlands, and USA. I can understand English very well. I can understand Dutch. I can understand Spanish. I can understand Hindi. I can understand Newari. But Ginwa Mazazuse, do Dakshan Najigo language, Nepali Ji, Hindi Ji, English Mafu. Ton Mother participant of Mudde, there's all the Monday, go me some bad English too. That's why I am expressing my very, very dissatisfaction with my interview. Another part, okay, there's another part, what she has expressed till now.
Please.
Negativism, back Sunam, Hindu, Ki Rastapati, Vanandra, Rastapati Kumar Chena, Bagan, Kumar Mata, Bagan Maju. So me when I job Pujan Majula. What do you want to say?
Okay, fine. So
negativism for Sansare, sure, Jay some the P, Jay some the Joe, Banai Hogi. Atwa, Geo Samaje, Mr. Mustard, Gully Samania, Gully, you gave so positive aspect, not negative, negative ideology.
That's fine.
That is my question.
That's right. It's your thought. You are, as a male, how you live, how you experience is different than how I lived in this society and how I have been treated. And also, it's not only about the Rashtrapati or so. I'm talking about the state, not as a person, not as I'm not talking about the person, but as a state, this Hindu state, how they behave, how they are not accepting Janadatis, I mean, all this and other, how they have been not accepting and they are not treating well, and how this Brahminical patriarchal society or the structure, it's the violence is already in the structure itself. It's not about the person, it's not about Brahmin as a man or the person, but as the concept, how it has kind of actualized and actually how it has been done. And I am also a victim of that.
I understand you that.
So
but
that is that. So it's not about
everything cannot be solved in overnight.
Yeah.
So
thank
it will
you.
take
Thank
time.
you very much.
You have
thank
to
you very
be
much. Thank you.
Thank you
very much. Thank you very much, Shishti. Thank you very much. We totally appreciate. This is an open platform. Everyone is welcome. This is your view. This is my view. This is her view. Everyone should be allowed to put forward their views. If we don't do that, then we all, again, like we're even worse than the Brahmanical society. Anyway, so we don't want to. We don't want to go that way. I perfectly understand. Yeah.
Even in the Newa, our state, Newa as a state, we have this, the hierarchical, the caste and the class. We have to question about that.
Definitely.
Most of the time we never deny that we don't have caste. We don't do that. But caste is in everywhere, and how that has been performed, lived in every day. It's
yes, I accept it, but Napa caste system, Hinduism, I system change the job doing that you have to accept it.
This is fine. This is fine. We can always have this discussion, and please help me to be a nice host who can actually finally finish the interview on time for the first time. And thank you very much, Shrestha. I understand it takes a lot of time, but
yes.
at the same time, if we don't put the voice forward, it will even take longer. And I mean, okay, Sudayji has raised his hand. This could be the last question. I'm afraid. Please.
Okay. Jojoloban, good evening. See, host में जो ना चाहे ये बात आसान वान दियो खासा ये को बाला मला जिना चाहे बच्ची मत अब एक चाहे victim चाहे ज़्यादा दिला मला मिसा मत ज़्यादा अब एक ना गुली ना चाहे थॉय चाहे लाइफ है चाहे victim ज़्यादा अब एक ना चाहे story जाने दिला तर सुशीला ना तैयार है नेपाले आज नेपाली चाहिँ जी विशेषण चाहिँ नेवा सोसाइटी जिसाइ नेवा गरे नि हिन्दुइज्म दो अले ओना बुद्धिज्म न दो मिस्टेकलाई चाहिँ एकै बाला चाहिँ थाबे त जी खना मखला अले वेकन ओपटी थाय था चाहिँ भसा स्टोरी यान मै दिला को खसा भिक्टिम रे चाहिँ चाहिँ नि खना जिनेवा सोसाइटी जिमे सोसाइटी धामको नेवा सोसाइटी म्यामस्तको मको कामस्ते तन दुगा को गथेरगा रासा कामस्ता चाहिँ क्षमा या निमजको दुसा चाहिँ तर्गम चाहिँ अबिता चिरगम क्या चाहिँ माइतर गा भाइ मगला विशेषणा चाहिँ अस्त्रादय मितेर गा रे अन दथि चोपी चाहिँ कामस्ता जुखा चाहिँ ओके चाहिँ भिक्टिम जा चोंदु मला फेलसको दुवाला स्वास्थ्य चाहिँ बाला थे चो मला एजुली चाहिँ छि सोसाइटी एजुली चाहिँ के बुलुबुनु चाहिँ बर मिस्टेकलाई चाहिँ राइट सोइचन थम्पने जिबे भिक्टिम दुला अबिलाई न जुन यादु जो क्रिया चोंदु मिते दुटा kan तैतला तर काम त ज्या न त दथि चोपी कामस्ते चाहिँ वो मोर वन छौ चाहिँ ठिका दिला सिका दिला धेरै नेपालका फिल्ड आसु
No, it is a nice argument out there, and
we can go on arguing, but you have, I mean, I can't go into your shoes. I can't wear your shoes and, try to say there is nothing. Of course, patriarchy is always bad for both gender, for men and women. Men are equally victim men are also victim in so many ways. लोग्ने मान्छे भएर रुनु हुँदैन हैन लोग्ने मान्छेले यो गर्नुपर्छ. There are so many things, but how much women are controlled, women's are objectified, they are just mere object, that
there is no comparison. There is no
and also अहिले त राम्रो भयो भन्छ हैन, but when you are menstruating you become untouchable, disgusted, like disgusting kind of thing. I mean, how on earth the feminine force became, you should actually celebrate. Because of it, life continues. If it comes to stand still, life come to stand still.
Definitely.
And how it has articulated, how it has practiced, how, I mean, I can go on, but of course. And thank you for your viewpoint. I really,
it was a good thing to have like different views, because without that it won't be complete ever. Yeah. And it is in the kind of combination of all these different views we will have a fuller picture maybe. And we are all trying, as an artist, as a researcher, as a whatever, everyone is trying from their side, but all these attempts should be for the underprivileged, for the minorities, for the for those who are suffering. And they should be survivors, definitely. So, Madam, at the end of this interview, I wish I could talk to you after 23 years forever and ever and ever. However, so if there's anything that I would like to say to end today's interview, please, this is your time. Thank you, Madam.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. Thank you. It's really great to be with this group of people, and also through this how it goes. And also I believe in dialogue than monologue. It's really good to have the different kind of viewpoint where we can communicate, converse, do the conversation, then something will come up, and also sometimes we, wherever we don't, when we tend to look from one perspective and we think this is the only satya has different um, parts of facade, and you look at things. If you are looking at on the side of 6, from my side that could be 9, and then we never come to that kind of thing. So anyway, but this Brahminical patriarchy has always created violence structurally, and there are people who really support that and bring that, and also close their mind and eyes, and say there is no violence, देखेर पनि नदेखेको सुनेर पनि नसुनेको भयो भने त it's always there, but it's always good to look from many various perspective, and then yeah, I would say that. And thank you once again for, I think Anita wants to say something.
She's at work and she cannot talk, but yeah, we will let her do the own.
हजुर जी चाहिँ ढुवावे नि जो लोपा अस्पिना
question
हजुर क्वेसन सियानो मलाई जिता चाहिँ छौटा मास्यो आना छ वो मेन्सुरेसन खना भुलि थन चाहिँ वो ल मलाई वो अथे विभेद म आउँछ वो आतको न चाहिँ प्र्याक्टिस छाडु मलाई बोला जुया छौ छि दक्षा खना छौ दो वो चाहिँ के लागि मछि वो इभन सुप्रिम कोर्ट त क चाहिँ भर्डिक बिलाउन चाहिँ वो मोनिटेसन अझ न यान छौ नि त्यो चाहिँ के एक्जिस्ट डु टु ये चाहिँ वो के प्रुभ यान छौ दो मलाई वो ब्याटल जुया छौ नि छि दक्षा सियो आसियानो छिसँग चाहिँ मुसिहरुका चाहिँ ओभरलुक या खस मिले खक न त चाहिँ दक्षा सियो या खक अलि अलि जिन हामीले डाइभर्सनहरु नि आज चाहिँ न्याय पनि त चाहिँ मलाई एकदम म छालीमा साकको चाहिँ नसातोसा जोरेयामा अलि भारसिलमा उसहिमा ज्ञानजीमा बालागु बोली वचन तेमा अलि चरित्रवान जुइमा ढले अनि अलि पछि बालाकमा कोठा बालाकमा मलाई अलि छु परिवार एकदम खुसी तेमा ढुला एकदम हामीले सेनाय बुझौं खर्ने वो एजुकेसन चाहिँ एकदम वो बायस या मिस्टेटो चाहिँ हामीले वे वर्क आदमी वो छिसँग भुलि इग्नोर यासा मयासा आनन्द नि छु म जान्द नि वो भिजुअल छु होला चाहिँ वो जुल अलि जिन्दा न ढापो अलि मिउ चाहिँ छु छु चाहिँ छु प्रोजेक्ट सुन चाहिँ ठो एक्टिभिजम पार्ट अन चाहिँ जिउ दुला देखा चाहिँ वस कन्यन मास्टर होला
Yeah, I have been, I mean, constantly, I'm working non-stop, actually, in the different context. At the moment, I have been working, research in the research phase of how caste system actually works, and from it's more like working with the young Dalit women and trying to see from their perspective rather than my perspective. I'm still in the privileged position, and then so one body of work I'm really working on that, trying to research, and also what can create from that one, and also other several projects I have been working on. Hopefully soon it would come to the public.
Thank you for the information, and we'll really look forward to see more and more work. It's never enough. There's so much to do in Nepal, and especially in the area that you're putting your voice forward. There has to be more voices, louder voices, and I really hope all your audiences, all your viewers should definitely come and see, support, and make it even louder. Thank you.
One more thing, just to, those whoever are in Kathmandu, Kathmandu Triennale is going on, and tomorrow is the last day. And by any chance, if you can't make it, there is a virtual tour, there is a line. I sent to Sanyukta, I think this afternoon. So if you can share among, it would be great. At least they can. And
we've been sharing Kathmandu Triennale's links and videos in our face-to-face. We're gonna share the link that you sent as well today. And I think like I'm not in Kathmandu yet, but I think your work is exhibited in Britain. The Art Council, right? Nepal Art Council.
Yeah, Art Council and Patan Museum.
And Patan Museum. Okay, in Bower Mall and in Patan. Thank you very much, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to remember this conversation forever in my life. Thank you. And before we end, today is oh, he's gone now. I just wanted to say happy birthday. Bigen Tuladar is one of our hosts. Bigen, happy birthday to you, and thank you for hosting WDB a couple of times, in the week. And thank you so much. Happy birthday, Bigen. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.